Well, the first consideration, the first thought, do you remember we have presented several times during the workshop this fourth revolution, introducing the previous ones, the first and second and third. Well, the thing is that probably you have read a lot of times that the third revolution was mainly led by computer and automation and also robots. So what is the difference between the third revolution and the fourth revolution? Because usually people is painting this revolution with a robot arm that is moving around pieces of cars and whatever machinery. But what is the real difference between this third and fourth revolution? So if we're implementing a robot in our facility, are we aligned with the fourth revolution? Or we are just copying and pasting the same things that we are experimenting from the previous stages? So this is so crucial because it's very related with the main takeaway that we deduced yesterday. So we talk about robotics under the fourth revolution umbrella when we are able to talk about cyber physical systems. I mean, when we are able to emulate, to simulate, to control using virtual copies of the facility, is in this moment when we are thinking we can talk about the fourth industrial revolution in regards of robots. So one robot by itself doesn't mean a fourth or smart industry. So it's only when robots, they are connected between them. When robots are connected between the rest of equipment and humans, it's in this moment when we can talk about a smart industry. So smart, or this adjective that we are always putting regarding a smart industry, smart cities, today we are putting the adjective everywhere. Smart means that at the end there is an orchestration, a brain that is controlling on top of the existing facilities, are controlling from a holistic perspective everything. So this is the real meaning of the fourth industrial revolution and also the robots vision. So if we understand that, we can move forward with the next concept. Well, the thing is that, again, the third industrial revolution was born when the first microchip was introduced in the world. So that was the moment where we were able to avoid the lamps of diodes used for television, for example, and we substitute these kind of things by microchips. Why? Because the human being was able to reduce the size and augment the power computing of robotics and systems. Well, the thing is that, could you see, the first microchips were used from a very technological advanced position when the first rocket was sent to the moon, when the Apollo 11 was sent to the space. And this rocket included a lot of these microchips. Well, we are nowadays in this situation. After 10 years, we can say that the Industry 4.0 is evolving, although in some countries and industries like the biopharmaceutical industry and medical value chain industries, we are not seeing yet the benefits. But this is important because, remember, the third industrial revolution that is usually linked to robots is linked mainly to the microchip concept. And this is important for the next concept. So the transition between the third industrial revolution into the fourth industrial revolution, again, is not only having robots, it's the ability to communicate, to put in connection everything for some specific purpose. For example, if we don't have good telecommunications inside our factory, inside our site or facility or manufacturing plant that is able to connect all the robots, maybe we won't be able to identify how or when the next robot will be failed because it requires some maintenance in these robots. Or if you have seen a chain of robots in an automotive industry, you can identify that the robots are completely programmed with software and plans in order to act sequentially based on a kind of dance between all the robots together, but all of them, they are completely synchronized. And this is because all of them, they are connected between them. So imagine that you have a chain of robots and every single robot is taking care of a set of actions. For example, a robot is putting the door in the car, another robot is putting the engine inside the car, and the car is moving along the belt. Well, the problem is what happens if one of these robots are broken? So the rest of robots should be communicated immediately in order to stop the production, in order to adapt the speed, in order to accommodate the pace, the rhythm to the manufacturing chain operations, to the speed of the belt. So this is so crucial because if we don't have this kind of communications, when we are implementing fourth industrial revolution thinking on robots, we will have serious problems because robots needs to be interconnected between them. This is a good example to have in mind. And why robots are important for the fourth industrial revolution? Well, the reasons maybe you can think is the same reason that we had in the past for the third industrial revolution should be the same reason for the fourth. You are right if you think about that. But I would like to highlight some differential characteristics between the previous revolution, the industrial revolution, and the current one. Well, of course, if we are able to have a constant operation and consistent activity in the chain, of course, the production is going high speed rather than if we have humans. So we can reduce the operation cost, but how much cost is a robot? So how many people do we need in order to replace a robot, or in the reverse order? How many people should be replaced by a robot in order to have a robot as a beneficial in terms of cost? And more, is the cost the only benefit that we can identify in robots? How we can identify, for example, in critical operations like aseptic conditions. Now, let me go to the biopharmaceutical industry and the medical value chain. Do you think that robots are good only for to replace humans and to be more efficient than humans? Or maybe we can consider that humans can bring value on top of the robots, and robots can work on those environments that it could be dangerous for humans. For example, I'm talking about ATEX rooms, rooms where we're managing powders in drug manufacturing, where these powders are explosive. So what about if we can use this kind of robots? And what about if we talk about aseptic? Probably if you are working in the biopharmaceutical industry, you know how many controls humans has to overpass in order to move from a gray room to a white room. So all those processes can be accelerated if we have a robot permanently in the aseptic rooms working continuously. So not sterilized conditions and so on. So maybe we can think in this introduction of robots more in quality and efficiency that we want to promote in our products rather than just replacing humans. So now we are starting with the characteristics of the fourth industrial revolutions. Robots are giving the flexibility that we need because new robots are programmable. And here I would like to emphasize a comment coming from Urban at the beginning of the session today. The equipment that they have to interact with robots, they have to be ready to interact from a electronic data perspective. So if robots and equipment, they are not connected, for example, the speed of the belt and the number of units, number of vials that we are filling with the drug inside the injection of the syringes. If we don't have the communication between the belt and the robot that is taking the syringes, the vials, we have a problem. So equipment and the full facility must be ready to adopt robots. Otherwise, it's a technology that we should take care about to implement. And even more, this is maybe is the one that I like more, the simulation and automatic program creation. So remember, we can think only in a smart industry in terms of robotics if we can simulate the activity of the robots in a virtual world, let me say, in a cyber system where we can manipulate the robot without to interact with the robot directly. This is so crucial, so crucial. Okay, we will see later why. Well, and what is a robot? I like this definition coming from Wikipedia. Here you have the evolution of different robots. The Asimo robot was very famous when this robot was announced in the Japanese Congress by the first time. Nowadays, the US military program, they are incorporating this kind of robots in order to have and to load all the charge that they have to work with. And this dog bots, this is the name, dog bots. They are robots like dogs. In this case, they have the ability to open door and to allow the pass to the other robot. These robots are standard. They can be standardized. They can be programmable. And nowadays, these robots are being used in the industry in order to have predictive maintenance, in order to implement predictive maintenance from an AI perspective. How they are doing that? Let me explain you a little bit. Imagine that you are in an aseptic room where you are in the filling line from vials, for example, or you are in the tableting operation, or maybe you are in the blister packaging line, the first primary packaging, where everything is validated, and you cannot plug anything more in the equipment that they have been already validated. So you cannot put your controls regarding, I don't know, sound, vibration. You cannot put controls about the temperature, because if you stick a thermometer, maybe you have to revalidate some part of the line, or whatever you can imagine. So if you have a room in an aseptic condition, in ATEX condition, you cannot interact with everything that has been validated. But these robots, once they have been aseptically accepted, they are not interacting physically with the already validated systems, with the validated assets, and these robots can be plugged with cameras, infrared sensors, thermosensors, sound sensors, vision, AI vision, in order to recognize wrong behaviors or procedures. They can be, well, plugged with this kind of sensors, modern sensors, without to interact physically with the validated systems. Well, these robots nowadays, they are moving around the facility, specifically per areas, in order to bring all those raw information, this primary data coming from the thermometer, the temperature in the engine that is so critical, in order to measure their temperature, the laminar flow, whatever you need in order to measure the things. And they are processing the data, they are sending data to the cloud, they are analyzing the data, and they are sending again to the robot the instructions. Okay, so good or very important meaning of robots. A robot in the smart industry is not a robot if it is not programmable. Please remember that, because it's so crucial to understand the smart industry concept. They must be programmable. So if we are using a robot that is always doing the same, an arm, a robotic arm that is moving one piece from one place to another place, and that's all, this is not a robot for the smart industry. This is a robot coming from the third industrial revolution. So remember, so we have a robot if it is programmable. And why? Well, making a recap of the concepts that we have already watched during the workshop, this is the fourth pillar based on a lot of scientific literature regarding the fourth industrial revolution. I like to mention something that I think that is very representative for our industry in the biopharmaceuticals and medical value chain. Since 2011, when you try to make a literature review based on, for example, in how many papers, how many scientific papers are talking about fourth industrial revolution, you will see that there are many. There are many papers that they are describing robotics, cloud, and so on. But if you try to watch, if you try to read and to make some research in scientific literature, talking about fourth industrial revolution in biopharmaceuticals and medical value chain, you can realize that the first papers are coming from 2017, and from 2017 till now, so 4 years ago, so we have just the literature, the pharma literature regarding the fourth industrial revolution since 4 years. And if you read thoroughly this literature, you will identify that all of them, they are talking about abstractions, about hypothetical use cases, but no one of them, they are talking about real success use cases. Nowadays, we have in 2021, we can have something, and I will show you someone. But that is crucial to understand that we are, again, in the biopharmaceutical industry, we are a little bit behind the rest of the industry. And this is another proof about that. Well, this is the fourth pillars, and maybe you can identify some of these reasons about why. Cloud computing. Well, if cloud computing is one of the fourth pillars for the industrial revolution, that means that data must be managed in cloud. Well, we try to reflect what happens with the data that we are using at the manufacturing operations, in the working cells, when this data is enclosing the secrets of the recipe to manufacture the drug. So people is still reluctant to put these secrets, let me say, the secret sauce of the recipe for drug manufacturing in the cloud, maybe because they don't understand properly how cloud could be secure enough. And we will see how secure it is today in the second lecture. AI and machine learning is the other main pillar. So here you cannot see the robots. Why? Because robots are the muscle, and AI is the brain that is managing the muscles. So you can identify robots, you can make the parallelism with robots and bones, or with actions that they are managed by something, an entity that is superior, that these muscles that they are moving. This is AI. And for this reason, this is one of the pillars. Remember, everything must be connected and orchestrated. This is so important. Internet of Things, we will have a specific lecture for that. Internet of Things is the connectivity, the physical connection between the floor, the physical things, and cloud. And we will see how to manage that. I don't know if you are expert on that or not, and I would like to know which kind of protocols are you using if you are an expert around Internet of Things. But for example, the classical web HTTP protocol is not the most efficient to use in the Internet of Things, because we are sending gigabytes of information just in seconds. So the HTTPS protocol is a large protocol that has a very large header, a very large footer, and the message is in the middle. And this is not good when we are sending lots of bytes. So in terms of Internet of Things, we will see we are using the MQTT, the Mosquito protocol that is very light and is more efficient. So these kind of things are changing the world. Okay, so these small changes are provoking and producing an acceleration on all the process. And finally, big data. Big data is the other engine, but remember, big data, in terms of general topics, we can talk about volume, variety, and velocity. We will see today what does it mean. But remember that in drug manufacturing and in medical context, we need more V's, not only velocity, variety, and volume. We need validity. We saw that yesterday, and also veracity. Without that, we cannot use big data in our environments. This is so crucial. Well, and these four pillars, they are related to the same thing. So at the end, we are talking about interconnection. So the connectivity between everything is the key concept to understand the smart industry. Remember, the variety, the V of the variety concept in big data means that you are able to compare apples with oranges. How we can do that? No, you can transform a picture in numbers. Actually, AI is doing that. You can transform a sound in numbers. AI can do that, and you can use fast Fourier transformation in order to apply this transformation. So when you are able to transform non-structured data, comments coming from doctors, feedback coming from patients through their smartphones, when we are able to transform all these non-structured data into bytes, we can compare apples to orange. And this is the secret sauce of big data analysis, and also the interlinked things around everything in the smart industry. Again, it seems that this is a topic that is a recurrent topic. I think that this is a leitmotif in this workshop that you already identified in the previous sessions. You identify that everything must be connected, although if we need to start, maybe we can start in a pilot way using proof of concepts, but at least in the strategy, in the roadmap, there is a point where we need to connect in some way, and that must be in the plan. Otherwise, it's better to don't understand or to modify the initial plan, because that will be a barrier in the future. Again, these 4 pillars, let me go deeply on that. We have 3 different levels in these things that I was mentioning. One is the data collection technology, sensors. And here, Urban mentioned the requirement to have equipment properly updated. This is so crucial. So we cannot have a good implementation for the 4th industrial revolution if our sensors, if our current equipments, they are not ready to evolve, to connect, to talk to the rest of equipment and robots that we can have around. So sensors, the data collection technology that we are using, is crucial in order to understand how many data we must to move from the floor, from the edge to the cloud in an efficient way. Well, the first thing is which kind of technology we decide to implement for data collection. Remember, that should be the IoT concept, Internet of Things, that we will talk tomorrow. But I think that it's important to mention that it's not only necessary hardware physically connected to the real equipment. Remember the dog bots, the robots that they are walking around the site. They are taking measurements of everything without to physically have interaction with the existing equipment. So there are different solutions, and here the imagination is so important. The other thing is that data collection technology requires always 2 different areas. One is the hardware area, of course, which kind of sensor we are going to use. The second one is software area. For example, the risk mitigation that we were talking about regarding what happens if we don't have enough bandwidth, how to manage the data in buckets in order to be sure that all data arrives to the cloud properly, although the bandwidth is not good. Maybe we can accumulate bandwidth, this kind of buckets, and we can send them when the traffic is not huge. That could be a solution. Maybe the compression could be another solution. So there are many options that integrated all together brings at the end the final result. The second level is the data communication technology. So device-to-device communication. Well, maybe you can think that when we talk about the smart industry, when devices are connected between them, we have already achieved the goal. Well, let me say something that maybe is a little bit hard, but not all the connections are allowed in the smart industry. When we talk about the smart industry, the connectivity is using always internet as the bridge. If we use Bluetooth, if we use a wire between 2 devices, if we use any kind of other physical connection or non-physical connection, for example, infrareds between devices, that could work. But this is not a smart industry. This is in the third industrial revolution. When we talk about device-to-device communication, means that the communication is through internet. So you have the two hotspots, one device, another device, and you have to create a triangle where data is going to cloud. And if you want to manage something in the other device will be informed from the cloud to the device. Maybe that sounds a little bit weird because you are making a long journey to communicate to devices. But we have another value. When data is moving to cloud and afterwards goes down from the cloud to the edge, in the middle, in the cloud, there are some operations that they are taking advantage of that. And they're integrating the data that is coming from the first device to the second one with the rest of devices that they are sharing the same channel. This is the key. So maybe you can connect devices between themselves using Bluetooth or whatever, but the rest of devices won't be aware of what is happening in the site. For this reason, it's so crucial to use the cloud. And finally, and this is the evident conclusion, once you have the ability to aggregate all those data, because everything is moving around cloud, once you have that, you are able to create full data analysis. So you are destroying the islands, you are destroying the silos of data, and you are making this step on top. I hope that is clear, because it's really important to know that the smart industry requires cloud as the intermediate actor about every single transaction. When I say cloud, I mean it's not necessary that it's a cloud provider. Could be a cloud data center, I mean. But the important thing is this one, is that the data is going up and down around, always passing from cloud. And well, for the reason, once we have this amount of information, and this is why big data technologies are required, because we're talking about huge volumes of information, how we can extract knowledge. And we will see that in the AI lecture. AI is playing the role of the orchestrator in the fourth industrial revolution. When we talk about collaborative robots, collaborative robots is different, is the essence of the robots in this smart industry, is because there is a brain that is orchestrating everything between the robots and the rest of systems. So all in this way, we can think in the quality 4.0. Quality 4.0, I don't know if you have chance to read the Bioforum paper talking about the digital plant maturity model, but if you didn't, I encourage you to read the Bioforum paper. I think that is so great if you're planning to prepare a strategy in your manufacturing site. Well, the thing is that the fifth level, the last level of maturity in terms of digitalization, talks about the quality 4.0 concept. The quality 4.0 concept means that you are not managing issues, deviations, because they don't happen. Simply, if you don't have issues, you don't require to have issues management, deviation management. How we can avoid issues? Of course, this is a little bit visionary, but if you are able to reduce in a 60% the number of deviations that you have already in your site, I'm pretty sure that your bosses will be really happy. So only 60%. Well, the thing is that quality 4.0 means that you are able to detect, to predict any kind of anomaly or deviation before they happen. And you are able to react accordingly in order to redirect the process to avoid these deviations. So quality 4.0 means that you are adaptive. So all your systems, including robots, all your systems are able to be adapted using programmable systems to adapt to the reality that is happening in every single moment. Let me explain you a very clear example. When you're working with classical recipes in drug manufacturing, the recipe, for example, in tableting or yes, in double team. The recipe says, put the raw material A so many kilograms in the granulation, the granulator. Put this ingredient, the colorant, the whatever, and mix the system, mix the mixture during 7 hours. And this is the recipe that you have to follow step by step. Okay, you cannot modify the recipe because the recipe has been submitted to the health authorities. Well, the recipe was created in collaboration with labs, thinking on scale up on the raw material that they were using, in the environment conditions that they were using in labs, and so on. What happens with this recipe when the raw material has changed because the supplier has changed? What happens when this raw material has been exposed in the warehouse to an increase of humidity? What happens with blah, blah, blah? So the reality that you are facing every day is different. And we are assuming that everything is always constant. Quality 4.0 is, well, has a premise that says that everything is variable and everything is multivariable. So we cannot think that everything is constant, and we have to accept that the reality is continuously changing, and we need to adapt our own systems for the continuous changing reality. And we can only manage that using AI. Okay, so this is the summary about what doesn't quality means. This is so important. And how to apply that to robots? Well, here we have different attributes, different characteristics of robotics under the 4.0 vision. One is monitoring. So if you have robots, arms like this one that you have now in the image, but you are not able to monitor their activity, you are not doing a smart industry. So if you are able to monitoring what is happening, and monitoring doesn't mean to continuously look at the monitor in order to check what this robot is doing. Monitoring means that you are able to control if there is any kind of anomaly, or if there is any degradation on the response, or if there is any kind of issue that has been detected by the system. This is monitoring from a smart industry perspective. We have, or we can adopt artificial vision like part of the robotics. Do you remember the use case that we presented yesterday regarding radiographs? Well, I was explaining a real use case in several hospitals where they are making analysis using artificial vision, analyzing the radiographs of lung based on, well, on the chest in order to identify potential nodules of cancer automatically. This machine is only software. It's an application that is moving around all the pictures that we have from the radiographs, and is able to identify automatically by image recognition if there is this lung or potential lung cancer. That is another kind of robot. It's not only hardware. Adaptation. Adaptation is is totally related with the programmable concept. So the program that we are using in the robots means that the robots can be adapt their functions depending on the rhythm of the bell, or the rhythm of the operations, or because the pot that they are manipulating, they are different. So here, if you are adaptive, the robot could be used for different purposes, not only for a specific batch. I don't know if you are working with engineering, with your engineering department in the biopharmaceutical company, but every time that a new product must be set up in the line, that requires a lot of time and a lot of validation. Imagine that you can reduce this time preparation, this time setup between different products, because the robot can be programmable from your desktop. So the time efficiency is so huge. Learning, here we have AI. The robots can learn and can improve their processes. So I don't know how many iterations are you doing when you are making a setup for a different between products in your line, but usually if you are using a third industrial revolution robots, you have to adjust, you have to set up the machinery manually, and this is a trial error, continuously proof and error methodology. If you make that your system is able to learn, that could be done automatically. That is bringing the idea of a very efficient implementation. And where are the humans? Humans are supervising everything. So all our knowledge, the skills that you were mentioned. So why not to increase our abilities in order to have a more efficient production, more secure production, because we are supervising these key things, these automatic things that humans can do better in terms of supervision. But robots are doing that better in a mechanical way. So this is how the smart industry is considering robots. Key enablers. Well, this is a slide that I would like to show you afterwards, but well, I need to introduce you that because this is the price in dollars, in American dollars. This is the price of 1 gigabyte for storage, 1 gigabyte. Since the 80s, could you see here? More than well, around $1 million in the 80s to store 1 gigabyte till cents today. And even more, thinking now or talking about biopharmaceutical industry and medical value chain. Today, if you want to manage 1 gigabyte with continuous backup, with security, with antivirus, with all these kind of things together, you can pay 1 cent per gigabyte. That's nothing. That's nothing. This is also in both in Amazon and Google Cloud Platform. So well, so the price is drastically decreasing, and this is a kind of democratization of the storage. And this is one of the reasons about why today fourth industrial revolution is a reality. Otherwise, that could not be feasible. So data that is stored in this kind of systems can be stored forever and ever because the price is so cheap. This is a key enabler of these technologies, but not only the storage. So of course, the storage per terabyte or per gigabyte has decreased a lot, but the network has been increased, not in price, in the possibility of hosts. Nowadays, we're talking about more than 1 billion hosts in the US, or the dollars that we need in the CPU, how much cost we need for power computing and the bandwidth again. So we're talking about megas, well, in a cheaper price today. So this kind of, well, democratization is, they are the really key enablers of the smart industry. Just a very clear example. Do you know that? Could you recognize this panel, control panel? Well, this control panel is the panel of the Apollo 11th that brought the first humans to the moon. Well, nowadays we have, with the ability, with the capacity that we have, so probably your smartphones are more powerful than the brain, the computer that they were using in order to bring the man to the moon. Well, the price in comparison to the previous price that in the 69 the US paid for these computer systems is multiplied per 17,000 millions. It was more expensive. The power computing that they needed to send the man to the human being to the moon was more this kind of factor more expensive. So this is I like that because it's a proof of the democratization of the power computing today. And when you think about robots, maybe you are thinking in this kind of arms or complex systems that they are in the industry. Today, we have to think in other kind of robots. Recommendations engines, maybe drones. Drones can be considered today robots. And for example, the Amazon is distributing their packages today for example, for fresh vegetables. They're distributing these fresh foods using drones in some states of the US. So they're using AI inside the drones in order to have an anticipatory system. So they are providing vegetables based on their estimation of the customers when they are consuming all the systems that they have in their fridges. Okay, so this is other kind of robots that they are using recommendations, AI, and they're using the shipment. And this is the conventional industrial robots that probably everyone knows. So robots that they are created for a specific task, and they are used for a very specific use case. So robots that they have been designed for an intended use that is very difficult to change. This is the conventional industrial robots. And in the smart industry, we have to change this picture. When we talk about robots, we are not talking about this kind of robot that they have been designed specifically for a specific task. These robots, they are so good because they are automatic, they are replacing manual things, but they cannot be programmed. They only can do one task. So when we talk in the robots for the smart industry, we need to talk about collaborative robots. So robots that they are interacting with humans, robots that they are able to change their tasks, the dimensions of the things that they are doing. They are able to modify their structure in order to be adapted to the things, to the products, to the reality that they are facing to. And let me introduce another kind of robots. We say cobots. Cobots are collaborative bots, collaborative robots. This is the real robot that we are talking about in the fourth industrial revolution. So to be more accurate, we should talk about cobots, collaborative robots. Okay. Well, the conventional industrial robots, this is the characteristics that we can identify. For example, in terms of space, traditionally, the robots coming from the third industrial revolution, they will take up a lot of space, and usually, they remained in a very fixed position. So they couldn't move around. They couldn't change their configuration in order to work in other layouts, in other contexts. So the cost was expensive, really expensive, but also to maintain and to program, because you should go internally to the memory of the robot if you want to change their application, their use case for other purposes, because the logic of the robot was embedded in the specific chips or microchips that they were embedded or inserted in their board, their computer board. And well, this is so static, let me say. You are paying for something that cannot be changed easily. And I would like to have a question for you. How many times your production must be adapted to the new things that are happening? So you need to be competitive. You need to be adaptive to the continuous changing that is happening around you in the market or in your by your patients. How much difficult is to change the configuration of your existing systems based on this reality? Okay, so this is the vision. And even more, do you remember that we were talking about sensors and collaborative activities with humans? Well, conventional industrial robots, usually they don't have sensors able to recognize human activity around them. So for this reason, when you see a robot that is closed in a space that is forbidden for humans, is because this robot is coming from the third industrial revolution, because they are not aware about what's happening around the robot. Okay, and this is the main difference with the collaborative robots. So the main one, space. the spaces they are using a really little space because microchips and the logic is more versatile, and these robots can work in a smaller space. The costs are really more affordable than conventional robots. Why? Because they are using standard technologies that they have been promoted around other topics. For example, for vision, for example, for sensing, for example, for movement sensing. This kind of things has been already standardized across the industry, across the commodities, and these features are included in these robots just using a very cheap price. Okay, they can be programmable externally, so you can connect using an internet connection using REST API calls. You can transform the activity, the degree, the mobility, the position, everything can be programmatically modified and easily modified from your desktop without to interact physically with the chips and the board of the robot. And finally, and this is maybe one of the most important in this vision, they are more safe. Why? Because they are equipped with sensors that they are aware about what's happening around the robot. So humans can be saved around them because they can be detected in a very efficacy way. And of course, this kind of robots, they have their own safety programs in order to avoid injuries for humans. And well, this is the value change, and how we can bring value with this kind of collaborative robots to the industry. At the end, how we can bring value to our patients, to our users, that well is at the end our customers, in life science. Well, in the first thing, let me say that this kind of collaborative robots accept standards and customization in a very easy and efficient way. So you can customize and you can set up different standards coming from different suppliers, or if you need to adequate your production line for a specific new format of your product, that is very efficient to do that. And of course, they are always connected to the cloud usually using REST API calls in order to have interactions, and you can simulate using virtual orders with your enterprise resource planning, with your ERP. And as they are open to software systems, they can be managed by third parties like MES, like manufacturing execution systems, and they can be the arm of a software system. Okay, in the shop floor, and coming back to the PLC concept that we started this morning or this afternoon, it's important to mention that this kind of robots, they are using standard protocols to be communicated with. One of them is MQTT that I mentioned before, is lighter than HTTPS. The other one is REST API calls, and the other one is OPC. It's an industrial standard, but OPC UA, the new version of the OPC. Which is the return, or which is the benefits for our patients, for our customers? Well, they can get the drug in the expected time. They can have more efficient products, maybe with a cheaper price. Regarding our patients, they can have the treatment as they expected in the right time. So there are many benefits in the value chain that we can bring using this kind of collaborative robots. Do you know this movie, or at least do you know the saga of Isaac Asimov? Well, I like a lot the main commandments of the Isaac Asimov laws based on robotics. If you want, you can read it, but let me say that this guy Isaac Asimov was really a visionary in the 40s, in the 1940s, because the commandments that he established at this moment nowadays are very valid, and cobots, collaborative robots, are more aligned with the commandments that Isaac Asimov wrote than the robots that was created in the third industrial revolution. Because nowadays the collaborative robots, they are taking care about what is happening around them. They are taking care about humans. And you can download from internet in Java, in Python, in Node.js. You can download the source code software to implement in robots to be compliant with these commandments of Isaac Asimov laws. So you have to take care about humans. You cannot injure them. Okay, so these kind of things are very related with the collaborative robots. I like that because Isaac Asimov was really a visionary on those topics. Well, and this is the classical question that I'm getting at the university when I'm making lectures at the university and also in conference. Are humans jobs at risk? Do you think that we are replacing jobs because collaborative robots? Well, let me bring a thought for you. In the past industrial revolutions, for example, when the mechanical chain was replacing a lot of jobs in the industry because, well, we were changing humans by the steam machine that was able to replicate things and so on. Of course, many people lost their job. But to be honest, a new evolution of new professionals with better skills, with advanced skills, appeared because they required to manage the new engines, the innovations that were invented in the past industrial revolutions. Well, nowadays we're talking about the same, practically the same. So probably a lot of people will lose their jobs. I'm sure that will happen, of course. That is happening nowadays. And when I'm explaining the AI use case, I will bring with a real example. People are losing their job, of course, but there is a new generation of people that wants to evolve in this evolution, and they want to take the control of these kind of things. So our jobs will be better, more qualified, because we won't have to manage physically the things. So our jobs will be more secure, more safe, and we will be able to manage more complex things. And I think that this is good for the human beings. So we need to evolve to the next evolution, to the next state. And this is part of what we are doing. So this is part of the evolution. So everything requires to be evolved, not only machinery, also humans. And well, which kind of advantage we can see in the cobots in the small and medium enterprises? Well, the main maybe is that cobots are helping in the mechanical tasks or in the more precise or accurate tasks, like for example, microchips, labeling, or 3D printing, or whatever other task. They can do this kind of mechanical tasks, and humans can interact with them in order to configure, in order to program, in order to adapt, set up, customize this kind of robots in order to be more flexible and to do more things in a better way. So jobs are in risk. Maybe the current jobs, they are in risk, but I'm sure, and we are proving that now, that new jobs are appearing with better skills, more secure, and more with more benefits for workers. And here I would like just to bring to you some different attributes from the traditional industrial robots and the new ones, the collaborative. So the idea is that the new collaborative robots are supporting the workers. They work like humans, but better, because they can automatize 7 days per week, 24 hours per day, everything that we can do. But humans will be the responsibles. They will play the role to prepare these robots in order to do that efficiently. And this is an example about which kind of functions you have to do thinking on robots. So you have to start the program, you can reset the program, you can switch operation modes, configuration, and you can mute the system. But in a traditional way, you should do that in physical interaction with the robot. In the new way, in the new smart industry, you can do these kind of things from your desktops. And this is examples about robots in biopharma, where we have robots moving materials with and people working around them. So these kind of robots are stopping or are starting the movement, taking care always of humans around them. So you can have robots in pharmacies collecting all the drugs to deliver that to the patients. We have robots everywhere. In aseptic conditions, for example, this is a filling line completely managed by robots, filling in vials, or merging, creating vials in a small scale, or robots inside specific conditions, for example, for ATEX conditions. And robots in medicine and health. There are robots that they are able to make surgical interventions more accurate, and they have incorporated cameras in order to help to provide more feedback to the surgical doctors, and they can make decisions just looking at the screen, because the robot is working for them. Or you can have nurses, assistants, that one nurse can work remotely, and thanks to this robot can attend to more than one patient at the same time. Or well, there are many examples about robots in the different areas. But all of them, as you can see, all of them, they are interacting with humans actively. Well, the last example is in real time. I would like to show you another kind of robot. This is in real time. I'm going to this website. What means a robot? In this case, this robot is able to identify if I'm saying or I'm writing something that could be toxic, could have a toxic comment or not. For example, let me say something like, I like monkeys. For example, well, the system is already analyzing that by a robot, and no alert is shown. But imagine that I write something like, you are like a monkey. Could you see that? The robot is analyzing that maybe here I'm provoking a wrong reaction in the people that I'm talking to. So the robot is detecting that 86% could be toxic, this phrase. Well, these kind of robots are today helping a lot in different areas. For example, for retail. For example, do you remember yesterday that I was talking about Caixa Permanente or other insurance companies that they are dedicated to health? How chatbots, how this kind of robots are being used to interact with patients in real time in order to determine if they have a real disease, or how to classify the symptoms that they are explaining to the chatbot, to the robot, and so on. So these kind of robots are not implemented using hardware. These kind of robots are implemented using software, only software and AI. Okay, so I wanted to show you another kind of robot, because when we think on robots, usually we only think on mechanical things. Please change this mind, this conception, and think on the concept that we have highlighted today. Robots are in the smart industry, actions that can be programmable, can be easily configurable, managed by AI, and without really interaction with humans. And finally, to finalize this robots session, I would like to show you another thing that I'm really happy and proud to share with you. I'm doing a little bit of marketing, sorry for that, but I think it's so important. Well, do you know the PDA, the Parental Drug Association? There are two main organizations around the world regarding pharma industry. the ISP and the PDA. The ISP is more engineering, the PDA is more science. Well, the thing is that the Parental Drug Association is promoting a new event, a new congress next year in Dublin, where we are talking about robotics and automation conference. Could you imagine that? Some years ago, that was not possible. That a pharmaceutical organization, only pharmaceutical and more specific Parental Drug Association, they are thinking or they are promoting this kind of events, PDA robotics. So this is so good that the pharma industry is aware about the requirement, the needs of digitalize the current industry.